Welcome to the CNR Live. I'm Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me, we got Daniel Miguel and we got Carl McDonald up in the building. How are we feeling, you guys? Celtics won last night. And, if you guys want to check out the recap last night, go check that out because, again, we give it to you after every Celtics game. But today, we are going to be talking about the Celtics big man depth. And we'll go around. So, Carl, we'll start off with you, go Daniel, and myself. How are we feeling about the Celtics big man depth as of right now? I'm sure you guys heard a lot from Daniel and I, but Carl, we haven't really heard your opinion on the Celtics big man depth because I have to say, Celtics still have been rebounding without big man depth. Like last night, I think they were in the 50s for rebounds. Let me go check.
55, yeah.
55, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. How are you feeling, Carl, though? And give a quick intro for everyone at home about yourself again. We're on the fan series. We are just talking about this, episode 61. So everyone after this, make sure to go check it out. But Carl, introduce yourself for everyone.
Well, first things first, thank you again for having me, Griffin. It's always a pleasure. So name's Carl, fellow TikToker, and also somebody getting on social media talking about basketball, sports, and pop culture. Fellow New England here. Part of the reason why I'm a big Celtics fan. So that's pretty much a bit about myself. Been a Celtics fan since 2010. And yeah, been there for pretty much everything that happened from us losing in the finals to now.
Yeah, well said. So what are your thoughts on the Celtics big man depth now?
Let's say right now, when it comes to, the Celtics team, right now we're doing very well. I'd say, we're making up for a lot of the things we're missing, including that depth. I feel like even though we're doing very well for ourselves, we should still try to figure out ways to, get more of that big man depth. Like, for example, Keita, I'm just going to start off and say that right now he's playing the best basketball of his career, the most underrated center in the league right now. I would say, too, we have some pretty good backup centers, too, in Garza and Tillman. But also, I feel like we should really go ahead and utilize, more of those guys, especially Chris Boucher. There's a reason why we picked him up. So it's like, why are we not, using him, especially when he can be a very, great asset for us. Yeah, everything is working, well for us, but at the same time, I would like to utilize every tool that we have right now. So in terms of that Celtics depth, either use everybody that we have or get somebody in there to pair up well with Keita and, of course, Garza and Tillman.
Yeah, Daniel, what are your thoughts on the Celtics big man depth?
Yeah, obviously a really big turn and a really big difference from where we were 2 years ago and even last year with that really good squad, a really good rotation of Porzingis, Cornette, and obviously Al Horford. But yeah, different times now, and obviously, as the saying goes, different times call for different measures. I think we really had it best with those three guys, but now it's like in a snap of of a moment, and now like all three of them are gone, and now we're with Keita, Garza, and like Carl said, Tillman. Um, I agree with Carl. I think as well as we've been doing rebounding, especially last night, we need to once again, like Carl said, either use the guys we have, including Boucher and anyone else, maybe like move on to give Amari Williams a little bit more minutes, or uh, give up some of those guys, or get someone else who can fill in those positions and give us a little bit more on the rebounding sense of things, because we're gonna need it if and when we make that anticipated playoff run eventually, either this season or next season. But I think I remember it was like 2 or 3 preseason games this season, Griffin, where we were both like talking about Boucher and how big it could be for the team. And it just sucks that we keep seeing these DNPs like here and there. And it's just and he himself has posted about it on social media. For those who don't know, he's visibly frustrated about this, and so am I as a fan, because um, as well as Garz, as good as Keita has been, I think we need to utilize all the players we have in that position, and I feel like we really aren't doing that. I mean, we have Tillman isn't playing much, so we're basically riding on Caires and Garza, I guess, for the time being, and I don't think that's going to be enough in the long run.
Yeah, and I want to mention this. I mean, you mentioned right there, Daniel, that Boucher is clearly visibly upset with the Boston Celtics as an organization. Maybe some unfulfilled promises from the beginning of the season being like, hey, you're going to be the guy who's going to back us up. Like, I don't know what conversations were had, but, you saw him post on his story, but now we have an even Instagram profile shift right here. I mean, we were talking about this before we came on. Chris Boucher right here looking like the Bol incident when we had Bol at the Playboy Cardi concert. I tell you guys what, I would say Bol's a good guy to go after, but after this, I don't know what we're doing, but I have to say, and let's start off with Boucher because my perspective on the Celtics big man depth is I feel like they're doing all right with small ball. Like you still see them winning the rebound battles. However, and I think that's where we're coming to in the league as a whole. A lot of players they're utilizing the three more than a standard big man, and I've talked with Amari Williams. I've seen him play at the Expo. This is a guy who I think they're going to utilize well. He kind of gives off a lot of vibes of Nikola Jokic. And I think their first step is utilizing Amari Williams more. And, it's kind of hard when it's a two-way player and it's like, all right, Joe Mazzulla already established what he has. But again, that wouldn't be a bad option. But Carl, I want to start off with you too, because we thought this. You can't really abstract a lot of value from Chris Boucher anymore because it's tough. He hasn't played a lot. I think he was very promising in preseason. I think he had 20 something against the Raptors or something like that. Right? Wasn't it? Do you remember how many?
Around that. If it wasn't 20, then it was like maybe 17, and he was hitting, most of those threes.
Yeah, and so I think at first we looked at him and we were like, all right, this is a great option.
Mm-hmm.
But then that kind of fizzled out. And now we're at the point, can you even trade him for value? Or is that just a player that you waive and pick up someone? Where are you on Chris Boucher, Carl? And we'll go around and talk about Boucher and we'll knock him off the list first.
Right. First things first, again, I think it's just incredibly unfair to not at least give him a chance to, do something on this team. Like if it was an offensive, issue, I guess you could get away with that because you could rebound, you could defend, stuff like that. At this point, now that you're bringing up, potential trades and stuff, it's like maybe a team picks him up, but at the same time, it's now not a guarantee because, well, we're not really seeing him play in the way that he was supposed to for this team. And waiving him, that looks even worse on us because, again, you're not playing him like that. I think he played maybe once or twice during the regular season. You only gave him minutes during the preseason, so I don't think. Yeah, it just looks bad on both parties. And the best thing to do right now is just to give him minutes now and at least put some value on him to where if you wanted to trade him, maybe somebody would actually look at him and say, "Hey, we need somebody like that."
And when was even the last time he played? Because I remember he got minutes kind of recent. I don't even think he's got minutes recently. I don't even remember. Maybe I don't know. But what are your thoughts, Daniel? And if anyone could find out when he last played, that would be just bring that up because I don't even know. But what are your thoughts, Daniel? What do you think we do with Boucher?
Yeah, I got the stat pulled up right here. The last time he played was November 23rd, so almost a month ago. Against the Magic, ended up winning that game by 9. 14 minutes, 1 point, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. So one's all around.
So
and 14 minutes.
So this is a question then. Is Mazzulla right then for not playing him? Because is he just not fitting in? Do you just think maybe Carl, what are your thoughts? Because you seem like more lenient on play Boucher, but what are your thoughts? Do you think maybe he's just not doing it? Because 14 minutes, 1 point. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I could see why that would be, the conclusion, to come up with that, hey, yeah, maybe that's somebody you wouldn't want to really rely on because of something like that. But at the same time, I don't think he was really given a fair shot in the same way
Yeah,
that Garza was given. Even though Garza was somewhat in that position, it wasn't as aggressive or as bad as what happened with Boucher. Same with Tillman. And of course, Keita, with him being the starting center, he's not going to really have to deal with that. So yeah, I think it's mainly due to the fact that the Celtics aren't playing him. That's why we got that game out of him.
exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you don't play a guy for so long, and they're gonna get rusty. They're not
Right.
gonna be used to it. Like Xavier Tillman, plain out example. Celtics barely play him, and then they throw him out there. He's been a practice player. I mean, we talked about this recently too. He even went down with Porzingis last year to the main Celtics to practice. So that's just another example. But Daniel, what are your thoughts on Boucher? What do you think the Celtics can abstract from him? Is he a wave cause? Is he a player that there's still something they just got to play him? Or where do you think the Celtics go with him?
I think just because he doesn't have much trade value, we can't get almost anything from him in terms of trades unless we pair him up with someone else. But I think the best case scenario, I mean, waiving him is also horrible, like Carl said. I don't think that's the a right option either. I think we play him. I think we give him some minutes because yeah, from that game that I was talking about, the 14 minutes, 1 point, like you guys said, it's just you can't have someone not play for so long and then just throw him in one game and expect him to get a double double or something like that. It takes time and it takes practice and it takes a lot more play time than he has been getting for the Celtics. And um, unfortunately, this like usually we're like, oh, trust Brad, like trust the process. But on this one, I don't know what the process is. I don't know what's going on in Brad's head when talking about Chris Boucher. But I think we should play him. I really think if he starts getting solid minutes, I think 10 minutes a game, 5 to 10 minutes a game could be enough. I think for now for him to get a chance to prove himself until I think for now until end of the season. I would say. Until then, if still nothing, then we end up trading him. But at least then he would have the minutes and maybe have like some highlights or whatever that other teams could be like, oh, we could use a guy like him. Like Carl said. But yeah, I think we play him and we keep him for the season, give him minutes, and just see what happens.
Yeah, I'm at this point with Boucher. I think, again, as Carl and Daniel have mentioned, you give him a fair shot. You let him go out there, play, see what he can do, and you abstract anything you can get out of him. Because right now, no one's gonna want Boucher. Like maybe I mean, if you give him to a competitor over in the West Coast, I think they would be open for it because again, I just think the Celtics more so want young pieces that they can develop right now, and I don't think he really fits that for the Celtics. So I think maybe if you get a big man, you add him in a trade to a competitor or something. I think that's a move. But again, I think too, like if you want anything for him, you're gonna have to start playing him because again, they're not gonna pick up a guy that's DMP, 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 because then it's like, all right, he's like practices, I guess, but and it hurts me with Boucher because he's constantly involved in Celtics community. I mean, the other day I saw a post that he was like helping out, I don't know, I think at a homeless shelter or something like that, and saying how he was homeless and stuff. So it really makes me feel bad for him, honestly. But my thing too is like, if the Celtics don't want to go at that way, maybe find young talent, let the young talent play and waive him. That's the only other thing I could think of because again, you're letting a guy who still I don't think he's really thrown in the towel yet and his potential is not lost. This is a guy that could play elsewhere and you're just letting the talent rot like with Tillman. But you guys have anything else on that before we move to Garza? What Carl, we'll start off with you too. What are your thoughts on Luca Garza? Because I was gonna put big like we gotta talk about Garza. This is the headline because At first it was Tillman and Boucher, and we saw them get DMPs, but then we've been seeing Garza get DMPs. And my first question is, did he perform enough last night to be a player that Missoula is going to trust out there more? Because he played 26 minutes, played more minutes than Keita last night, and arguably had a better game than Keita. 10 rebounds. I think arguably had a better game. So what are our thoughts? Where are you with Garza?
With Garza, that's somebody that, is kind of exciting to look at to play because, yeah, he's pretty much that guy that should come after Keita, should be a part of that rotation. Last night's game really did show that, hey, he has a lot of potential here and shows that he can actually come up with Keita and probably even be, on the floor with him as well. Yesterday he had that double-double and 2 blocks, so when you're looking for centers, especially for this team, that's the type of stuff you would want. Him and Keita pretty much doing the same thing. Mainly scoring in the paint. A 3-ball wouldn't help or wouldn't hurt either. The rebounding is great. The defense is great. So yeah, very high on Luka Garza, and I'm very glad that even though the Celtics are kind of doing Chris Boucher dirty, they are at least giving Luka Garza that chance to actually shine and really show off in the way that he was meant to.
And I have 2 more questions to add on to that too. Do you think last night was the prove it moment for Luka Garza? Do you think last night was like, hey, tonight's your big night to prove yourself? Or do you think there would have been opportunities involved after?
I would say, yeah, last night was definitely a big, moment for him. Yeah, moment where he had to prove himself because they were without Jaylen Brown. And that's one of the only, 2 instances this season where they were without Jaylen Brown. And of course, technically Jason Tatum. So pretty short-handed, but they still got the job done. And he was a very big reason for that. So that's somebody that you would want to not only keep, but further develop in his own playing and with the team chemistry and all that. So yeah, he proved himself last night. And this is somebody that I would want with us for the long run.
Yeah, and you pretty much mentioned it, but like what else do they have to do in order to like develop him properly? Do you think what they're doing is fine or maybe less minutes? What are your thoughts on that too? Because Daniel and I talk about it all the time, but it's nice to hear you talk about this as well.
I would say just continue to do what what you're doing with him. If there's any notable flaws, I'm sure you can, clean that up and fix that up because this is again a team that was almost put in the position where they were supposed to fail, where they weren't supposed to succeed. We went from they're maybe going to go to the playoffs, they're maybe even going to go to the get into the play-in, but now we're the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. That's absolutely incredible, and he deserves his credit in being a part of that too. So definitely cleaning up any minor issues he may be dealing with right now, so that you can prep him and get him ready for a potential playoff run that we may have this year. And I'm sure next year, if you do keep him, again, he's going to be a very big piece for us.
Yeah, Daniel, what are your thoughts though on Luka Garza?
I think what we saw last night was good. From him, hold on, let me just see the difference between minutes within Keita and Garza, because I think I'd like to see both of them not necessarily like share the court at the same time, maybe I don't know, but I think I'd like to see both of them get similar minutes per game. I think that's where we can see growth from both of them, and I think that way we also ensure that they're both out there doing what they do best, which is rebounding and maybe like 10 points a game or whatever from both of them. But I think mostly we just need rebounding, and it wouldn't hurt to have our 2 best or our 2 biggest rebounders getting similar minutes per game. So I think that's what I'd like to see. More minutes from Garza definitely, and then similar minutes from Keita. So whether that means start them both and then like ease them off as the game goes on, or start one and then like at halftime or whatever, or like and just rotate between the 2. I think I'd like to see consistent minutes from both of them, and that way we also get consistent performances from both of them as well.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments too what you guys are thinking as well. We'd love to interact with you guys. And my thing is this too. Oh, we got David in here. I know that's David 6'7". Oh, I love to see it, David.
Yes.
If,
Sorry, Griff. Cater got 22 minutes last night, and Garza got 26. So I like that.
yes,
Like both in the 20 minutes per game. I think that's the range I want to see them on.
yeah, David, join the stream if you can, David. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you in here. I agree. I think this is my thing with Garza is again, he's a young guy that like I love what they've been doing with him before the DNPs. Like I love how they were kind of getting him acclimated with the Celtics and all of that. And I loved what their plan was. But then it's like he had a couple iffy performances. He even won a CNR MVP with us. So like that's huge. All right, David, you're driving home, but we got you, we got you. But he even won a CNR MVP with us. So I was very impressed to see that. However, then he kept getting the DMPs. But I think if you continue to play him, he proved himself last night. He's a guy that's on a very team friendly deal. I like that. But Daniel and I have talked about Tillman constantly. So, Carl, I want to ask you, what is your opinion on Xavier Tillman? Actually got some minutes recently for the Celtics. I think, was it against the Cavs? Was that when it was? I think.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on Tillman? Where are you at with Tillman?
With Tillman, again, I feel like that's a guy who's again deserving of getting a little bit more minutes. And I'm mainly saying this because you picked him up what it was the trade deadline from like 2024.
Yep.
So like a few months before the playoffs actually had started. Um, that's again somebody who could be very valuable to us. His shots, I think he's low-key clutch. Like it's actually kind of funny because there was that one game against the Kings in 2024. There was that one preseason game that we had recently. And even, when he was playing with the Cavs, there was really no moments where he was clutch. He was still making shots. So I feel like giving him more time to adjust and really show off offensively and maybe mainly on the defensive end and of course the rebounding that we severely need could really make him go further and make this team go further. So I really like Tillman and I really like his presence on the team. But, like some of the other, performers that we are or players of the team that we're talking about, he deserves a little bit more of a chance to shine and, of course, develop.
Yeah, and I have a question now I want to go around from you guys is who would you consider picking up, like trading for, or maybe a pickup? Who would you guys like to see the Celtics make a move on? Or do you think they're fine? Do you think what they have is fine? And because I don't know if that's the way we want to go towards, but well, again, Carl, we'll start off with you if you have some guys. I want to list some guys though before we go. I think bigs that are all like a Christmas gift if we could get, but Zubac is one of those guys. I I I always am a big fan of Claxton. I don't know why. I just think he has Celtics written all over him. Jaren Jackson Jr., Miles Turner, Brooke Lopez. We'll start off with you, Carl. Do you have a guy highlighted that you kind of secretly want to make a trade for or would think would fit the Celtics perfectly?
I've got two guys in mind with that. One of them is like my dream guy, and the other one I would say is the more realistic choice. Zubac is my dream guy. That's somebody who gives us the necessary, rebounding that we need. Offensive too, is great there. Double doubles there. And the thing is too, I don't think you even have to really start him over Keita. You can have one starting over the other. And maybe in some of those nights you could have one at center, one at power forward. But the thing is, I don't think with all the greatness, that comes with getting a player like Zubac, the third best player on the Clippers, I don't think the Clippers would be even willing to give him up because they're trying to make a push for the playoffs, which sucks, but I guess, hey, whatever. But Claxton, I would say, is the most realistic. I say he would have similar qualities that Zubac has. He is a bit younger, and he's already in the East. And yeah, like you said, he does have that attitude and has that, I guess, Celtics aura around him. So definitely, try to make something special here by trying to get him to be one of our main pieces or one of our big guys.
And I want to add on to this before we go to Daniel. Who would you trade for a guy like Zubac? Who would you? What would the trade look like if you were the Celtics?
Okay. I do
Tough one.
Simons. I would do Boucher. I mean, we're already not doing too much with him, so there's that. Maybe another player and like a pick or two.
I like that. Yep. What are you going with, Daniel? You got any guys highlighted in your book?
Yeah, hold on. Let's see. All right. I don't know how realistic all of these would be, but these are just four guys that I like looked at their stats and I was like, not bad at all. I have Gafford. I don't know how if we're able to get him at all, but that's the guy I like. I liked him on the Clippers. I like him now that he's on the Mavs. I think he's a really good center. This season is at 8 points, 6 boards, 2 blocks a game almost. So for him, I'd give up. Oh, sorry. For all of these, I'm putting Tillman on there. Just saying.
Oh, Tillman.
Tillman is going to be the guy I'm giving up for all these guys that I've listed here. So for Gafford, I have Tillman, maybe Boucher, or who did I put? I put Walsh there. Damn, I don't know.
Ooh, that's
I'll put Tillman. I don't know about Walsh yet, but I just wrote him down just because. And then a second round pick or two. And then the next guy I have is Jalen Smith. He's on the Bulls right now.
okay.
Also, before I say the rest of these, I just want to say I think we've been sticking to like old centers, like we're centers in their 30s or nearing their 30s now. I want to see us go for a young guy. I want to see us go for someone who's like still has a lot of time to improve and stuff like that. And obviously, with a younger age, it means we can keep them for longer, and it means they're healthier for longer and stuff like that. So I want to see us kind of like slowly wean off of going for the centers who are close to retirement or like just old guys. Like, don't get me wrong, Al Horford's good, and I can't really remember any other big center or like old center, but yeah, I just want to see us going for younger guys,
like a Brooke Lopez or something like that.
Yeah. So that's what I had in mind when I went with Jalen Smith, just like a younger guy, averages 9.6 in a block a game. So for him, I'd give up Tillman and then a second round pick. For him, I also had Zubac. And the interesting thing with Zubac is the Clippers right now are in a position where they need young guys because they have no picks for like I don't know how many years. They gave up the one for next year to OKC or something like that, the top 3 pick. And I think right now, management wise, they're going down a hill in terms of like young guys and like basically their team after Harden and Kawhi leave. So I think that could sway a possible trade for Zubac. Maybe if we offer them like a couple of second round picks, couple of young guys from the team, I don't know. That could do it from a Clippers point of view. But yeah, I had him on too. And then the last guy I have is Nick Richards. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He plays on the Suns. 9 points, 8 rebounds in the block a game. Can't really ask for much from a big. And I'm pretty sure he's also young as well. And yeah, same thing for him. I have Tillman again. Tillman and about 2 second round picks. Maybe a first round pick. I don't know. But those are the guys I have.
I like those ones. You know, like there's some guys that spark. I like Gafford, I think, the most out of those ones because I think that's a guy the Celtics have always been linked to. All right. I want you guys to chime in on this too. So chime in if you guys. Well, what do you think about his picks, Carl? Who you like from what Daniel got?
Or his opinion on who we should get.
Yeah. Who did you like any of those guys? Did any of those guys spark your interest?
I did love Gafford. Gafford was actually like my main guy. What before? Yeah, a little bit before the season started. And I didn't know like how the Celtics would be able to like get him. Like that's definitely somebody we should try to obtain. We
Yeah.
went up against him in the finals, and he was very productive, even though that team really didn't have that much experience. The fact that they even got there to begin with, and he's a big reason for that, was incredible. I would even like Gafford's a great choice too, but I wouldn't even mind settling with a Derek Lively the second too. So
Yeah.
yeah, they were just some very productive bigs, some very productive guys. So yeah, Daniel is definitely right on the ball with those guys and some of the other guys he's mentioned, but mainly with Gafford.
So I love that. And I have some guys, obviously you want to highlight a Bam Adebayo, but realistically, I don't see us getting a star center. I
Yeah, no.
don't see that. So my point is I think, I look at the Utah Jazz Stars team, their G League team, and they have some talent there. I could totally see them waiving a Boucher and going with I know this is a hot take, but a Mo Bamba, who again, like didn't really get an opportunity, could be a guy. But there's one guy that I would love them to trade for because every time I see G League pop up, I see Oscar Tishaboy. I don't know how to say his last name exactly, but I'm gonna show you guys a picture because I don't know if you've heard of him. But this guy gets like 20 rebounds a game in the G League, and he is on the glass. He is insane. So I look at him and I'm like, that's a guy, maybe even like I look at the Jazz as a whole, and I think their big man depth is great. Like because you got Walker Kessler that could potentially be an option. You got him that I think he's a great young option. Again, he was undrafted, and again, this is his stats for the 2025-2026 season. He's averaging 12 points in the G League and 16 rebounds. Like that's insane. Like go after a young guy like that. What you guys like any of those guys? Like I think and again, even a Mo Bamba, he's sent to the G League. He's got some time. I think in the Winter Showcase, he just had like I don't know exactly how many, but even guys you could pick up in the G League, like I don't know. I like some of those guys, and I think that guy sparks my interest. I'm going to just go with Oscar because I don't want to butcher his last name. But do any of those guys spark your interest too before we get into our last topic?
Yeah, like you said, definitely going after younger guys and, the rebounding aspect would really help. So honestly, I wouldn't mind, exploring the possibility of obtaining either Oscar or Mo Bamba or any other young player that has similar qualities to those two players.
Yeah, and there's also another guy who plays for the Mavericks G League team. He's like 7'5". I don't know his name or let me go look. Let me go do my research. But he really sparks my interest again. The height, that's and even before, geez, I showed you guys that Bol picture. I think he would have sparked my interest too. I think just having a height is just such a big factor too. But while I'm finding this guy, I want to ask you, guys, my next question is, and this is going to kind of be our final closing question on the big man depth. Can Keita carry the load, or would you rather have him, be a guy to come off the bench for next year? Do you hope we get a big man that could replace Keita, or do you guys think he's fine? Carl, we'll start off with you, and I'm going to go try to find this player.
If the plan is for him to, coming up, or if the plan is for him to be paired up with somebody else new, or that new person being the starting center, honestly, having him coming off of the bench wouldn't be the worst thing, and it would be ideal. But at the same time, I feel like for him to really make a case for being that center, especially long term for us, he should be able to be given, the reins and keys until, he has to pass over that role to somebody else, or, there may be times where he's not able to do so. So, right now I'd say give him that challenge. He's understanding that, hey, you have a tall task here. Your main guys in Kristaps, Al, Luke, those guys are gone. And you were essentially that guy who was supposed to come up next because, Tillman wasn't really developed there. And Keita has always shown potential, not just, during this season and, last season, but even the season before that, season where we won the championship. So definitely, give him some more time to carry that load to really develop as almost an all-time center. So yeah, I would give him that chance.
Yeah, and before you go, Daniel, too, I don't want to butcher his first name, so we'll just go Sharp. But I saw him play last year at the Expo too, and he had like 4 blocks. He was just a monster, like. So another guy, young guys pique my interest. Like those are the guys they should be going after. Like they're durable. You build them up right now. Again, we have a guy in the main Celtics with Amari Williams who is like that. So the big man depth for me isn't so concerning. Like it's definitely a thing that you want to improve on, but we're still rebounding. We're doing well with small ball, and it really hasn't been catastrophic this year as we thought. But Daniel, what are your thoughts on Cada and kind of the route that the Celtics should go?
I think the plan has been for him to kind of develop to the point where he can be a starter. And I think this season is when he should be getting that chance to get those starting minutes. Maybe pair him up with another good center. I don't know if Garza is going to be that guy. I don't know if we're going to be trading for anybody else, but I think the main rotation should be Keita initially and then someone else. Um, at the least, I'd say Keita as a second string center or even a 4 potentially if the chance arises. Obviously, without Tatum this season, there's a lot of freedom in that big man position. The 4 and the 5 this season. So I think we give him those starting minutes he needs to develop and see what happens. Because I think the main point for him is development. And to be able to develop, you need minutes. And so I'd say trust him with those starting minutes because he's proved that he deserves them already.
Yeah, and do you guys have any final takes on this? Because I want to give mine first and then you guys stab away at it. But I just mentioned it and I mentioned it before. Small ball hasn't been a real big problem. I think when you face those juggernaut teams with Victor Wembanyama and Jokic and we used to say Embiid, but like when you face those guys that have big men, that's where you kind of come into a little more of a clash. But again, it's not detrimental. It's not catastrophic to the Celtics. They've been managing, they've been getting wins, and they've been winning the rebound battle a lot of nights. So there's guys to go after. And I think, if you want to advance on your young talent, go for it. But I think they're very high on guys in their own organization, such as Amari Williams, Luka Garza, and especially Neemias Queta. I think they're very high on guys like that. But, I don't see a world I see a world where the Celtics go after a young talent, and they get, because every year we hear, oh, the Christmas gift is bringing in a big man, but I don't know if the Celtics will really even do that. I think they're comfortable within their roster. There's opportunity to go out there and play around with it, find someone, but we gave you options. So let us know in the comments what you guys want. But Carl and Daniel, do you guys have any final thoughts on what you guys think?
That's pretty much it for me.
Yeah. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, the one last final take is I think Missoula has been doing really good, like overall with the team, just rotation wise. I think we're seeing a lot of names, or like at the beginning of the season, we're like, oh, he's gonna be another like just a meaningless player or whatever this season. But I think Missoula's transforming some of these guys to, if not starters, then solid bench pieces. To the point where if they're not here, if they're not on a team by the time Tatum returns, their trade value is already so high that we can potentially go for someone else or another piece to add to that core of White, Tatum, Brown, and I guess Pritchard in this case. So I think Missoula's been doing a really good job this season of playing those guys and just experimenting with different lineups, different scenarios, and I think that's all.
Well said. Well said. But with that being said, you guys, that's going to do it for the live. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications. Hey, everyone, tune in tomorrow after the game as we will be bringing you the recap after the Pacers game. And then make sure to tune in for the Christmas special. So thank you guys again. We will see you guys with the next one. Peace, guys. All right. Thank you.